The Falcons might have caught a huge break going into week 8. But first, I want to tell everyone to subscribe right now if you hate the New Orleans Saints, because we are trailing Saints now in subscribers in the month of October. We are running out of days. So if you want to beat the Saints not only twice this season, but also here at Chat Sports, hit that sub button down below. The Falcons look to bounce back this Sunday against the Buccaneers. Both teams are coming off a loss, but the Buccaneers' loss is a much more painful loss. Now, right now, both those teams are tied at the top of the NFC South. Atlanta having the tiebreaker for the moment, but a win for Tampa obviously switches things up here. But if you missed Monday Night Football, I'll catch you up on some of the unfortunate injury news the Buccaneers suffered, which is Chris Godwin is out for the rest of the season after dislocating his ankle. Mike Evans is out for the next 4 weeks at least with a hamstring injury. Now, we don't root for injuries, but I'll say the quiet part out loud. Yeah, it's probably in the Falcons' I would say best interest, but maybe a little more advantageous to them to not have to deal with these two guys on Sunday when they are trying to pull away in the division, sweep the Buccaneers, who are their only competition this year in the division. So, yeah, a little bit of a break for the Falcons. Let's just call it what it is. With no Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans, I mean, look at the next two leading receivers. Old man Sterling Shepard, I don't even know if he's on the team still. Jalen McMillan, the rookie, I think. Like, there's just not a whole lot of good options for Tampa Bay and for Baker Mayfield, who has somewhat started to regress a little bit over the last couple of weeks to go to. So, week 8, in my mind, will really come down to one thing and one thing only: stopping the run. And if you make a team one-dimensional, the ball is in your court, right? You know what they're going to try to do. There's no surprise. There's no Pearl Harbor. It is right in front of you. You just got to stop it. And I think hope this Falcons team is good enough when it comes to stopping the run with all the vets they have and the depth on the interior defensive line to take down what is a somewhat three-headed monster backfield for Tampa. The rookie Bucky Irving has emerged as this team's number one rusher, 67 carries, 3 touchdowns. Rachaad White, 227 yards. And Sean Tucker, by the way, 21 carries, 172 yards, 1 touchdown. Former UDFA out of Syracuse was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week 2 weeks ago. So they've got 3 good backs they can rotate to keep fresh for all 4 quarters, and each one brings something different to the table. But this Atlanta defensive line, it'll come down to these guys in the middle, right? Can they hold their zones? Can they hold their jobs and their responsibilities? Or are they going to get pushed around a little bit? And then that hopefully will allow guys like Caden Ellis, and then if Troy Anderson is healthy, hopefully, and Nate Landman to make a push and get into the backfield and take down a lot of these running backs before they get out across the line of scrimmage. So who you got in this one? We're going to talk about a trade idea in just a moment, but I really want to get the pulse of everyone watching. Falcons or Bucs? Can Atlanta sweep Tampa Bay? Let me know down below in the comment section. I only want to see ATLs. Now, Adam Schefter recently put out 10 trade candidates to keep an eye on as we get closer to that November 5th trade deadline. I think there's something else that day, but I can't remember. But Za'Darius Smith from the Cleveland Browns jumps out to me as an obvious slam dunk trade target for Atlanta. Someone that Terry Fontenot should make phone calls over. And if he doesn't, he should be fired for at least not even exploring the possibility of adding a guy that has 3 seasons with 10 or more sacks in a 4-year stretch. And he might have 4 seasons might have 4 years with 10 plus sacks all in a row if he didn't miss basically the entire 2021 season after getting injured in week 1. Now, the even double dose of good news for Atlanta here is Za'Darius Smith's base salary is $1.2 million. So it's going to cost you next to nothing to add him to your books. This year, he has 4 sacks in 7 games. Year before, year 1 in Cleveland, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. But he was really good at generating pressures, which that was somewhat of the story for the Falcons against the Seahawks, and then they were unable to convert those pressures into sacks. But we have seen that Smith has no issue with converting those pressures into sacks before. So, to me, With the Browns sitting at 1-6, this seems like a no-brainer for both parties here. Za'Darius Smith, 32 years old. He's not going to be in the Browns' long-term picture. They brought him back in a win-now type of move. Ultimately, that fizzled out. But for the Falcons, they are in a win-now mode right now. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. I think this makes a lot of sense for both sides. Now, we're going to look at what a trade could look like in terms of compensation in just a second here. But today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 10 million active members. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. So take a look at what I am doing for NBA opening night tonight. The Anthony Edwards point total is at 0.5. So call me crazy. I don't like store-bought pesto, and I like the more on this one. I also like the more for Taco Tuesday, which are these really good deals they give players here. Jalen Brunson with all those stats combined. And then I feel like LeBron is just going to put on a show for his son. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Now, whenever we talk about making a trade for a player, I do think there are some boring boxes we need to check. One of them is, what is the player's base salary? If it's $15 million and you're halfway through the season, you need to have $7.5-ish million in cap space available. But that's not really a concern here with the $1.2 million base salary. That's one boring box, the financial box. But it's important. Owners really care about it. The other box is, what kind of currency do you have? I want you guys to start looking at draft picks a little bit as like monopoly money. It's not real, but it's real in the game. And for GMs, this is the game they are playing. So what do they have to spend at the market? Well, Terry Fontenot in this upcoming draft has 5 picks to use overall. Lost his 5th-round pick for alleged tampering with Kirk Cousins. And then that Contavious Street trade and like a Van Jefferson trade from last year ate up another day 3 pick of theirs. So here is my trade idea, which I think is just a rough blueprint for what it could cost to get Za'Darius Smith. The Browns get a 4th-round draft pick. The Falcons get Za'Darius Smith and one of Cleveland's 6th-round draft picks. I think Za'Darius Smith probably goes for a 5th. Atlanta does not have a 5th to offer, so how can you make up for that? Give him a 4th and ask for a 6th back. Both teams have the same number of draft picks. The Browns just move up 2 rounds altogether. So would you do this trade? Give me a yes or a no. For me, I'm typing Y for yes without a doubt in my mind. 4th-round pick is not, nothing. It's a good early day 3 draft pick, but I feel like this team right now really needs to add to their pass rushing unit. Don't believe me? Just compare Za'Darius Smith to the top 3 leading pass rushers, I'd say, on this team. He's got the same amount of sacks as 1, 2, and 3 for the Falcons combined. I mean, to me, this is not even a topic worth discussing. The only argument you can tell me is you just don't want to give up a 4th-round draft pick. And to you, I'd say, well, let's look at history here. How good are teams that don't have very good pass rushers? Well, what I did was I looked at the last 5 years of the AFC and NFC championship games. And I looked to see the 2 teams that played in it, how many sacks do they have in the regular season, and where that ranked in the NFL. Are we noticing something beyond just a lot of Chiefs logos, sadly, on screen? Second, tied for 12th, 19th, 11th. So of the 5 previous teams that have won the AFC, 4 out of them were top 12 in sacks. Look at the runner-ups on the right. We'll go back to the AFC really quickly here. Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, Bills, Titans. For the most part, really high. Only 2 major outliers. The 2022 Bengals and the 2021 Chiefs. Both teams that lost in that AFC championship game, but they still made it that far. But I think what separates those teams from, say, the Falcons is one has Joe Burrow, one has Patrick Mahomes. I like Kirk Cousins a lot. I'm not going to put him in the same level of those 2 quarterbacks. So if you do not have a Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, You have to make up for that in other ways, like having a defense that can defend a nice 24 to 28 point performance from a Kirk Cousins led offense. I think banking on Kirk Cousins in the NFC Championship game to put up 35 plus points because defense can't give up less than 30 is a bad bet to make. Now let's do the same thing with the NFC really quickly. All right. Look at the last 5 winners on the left and who they beat on the right. I mean, 7th, 1st, 3rd, 4th. They're all top 10 in the NFC, which is what the Atlanta Falcons hang out in. And then look at the losers. Like, for the most part, all of them top 10 except for the Detroit Lions last year, who made it, unfortunately, an emphasis this offseason to try and get better at that position. And an Aiden Hutchinson injury really derails those efforts. But what I'm trying to drive home here is, unless you have a superstar generational quarterback like Burrow or Mahomes, just look at everyone else that has made it that far. They have not done it without a great pass rush. The Atlanta Falcons have the 32nd best pass rush. Now, they're probably not going to get all the way to 5, 7, or 8 with Za'Darius Smith. I don't need them to be. But I need them not to be 32. Can you get me 23? Can you get me 22? Can you just get me out of the bottom 5 of the NFL? At least that gives Kirk Cousins and the offense a fighting chance. Maybe they need a couple of breaks to go their way and whatnot because the defense still isn't quite where I would like it to be. But we're halfway through the season. You're likely not going to find anyone that's going to dramatically change any one stat for the Falcons defense. Before we get on out of here, I do want to show some love to some new subscribers here at the channel. Really appreciate all of you guys for joining the channel. So we have Charmaine Moore, Z-Man Zan, Derek Coleman, Trixie Nitz, Edgar, Jay Cameron, Sushi Patel, David, Davis, and Don. Triple D right there. Drive-ins, dive-ins, and dives. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us all day, every single day. We're going to let you guys get back to the rest of your Tuesday. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure to do so. I love getting the audience on screen. It's a two-way street here at Chat Sports. That's why it's not Matthew Sports, because I love to hear from you guys as well. So chat, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.